Epilogue, Part 2. Lissandra stood in the centre of the desolate and broken throne room, her eyes scanning the remnants of what had once been her father's domain. The air was thick with the stench of smoke and sulphur, and the once imposing walls were now crumbling, cracked by the violent clash that had unfolded. Silence filled the chamber, a stark contrast to the chaos that had reigned only moments ago. The throne, once a symbol of power and fear, lay shattered before her, reduced to rubble by the battle's fury. Lissandra's heart felt heavy as she surveyed the scene, her mind reeling with the weight of what had transpired. Her father, the demon king, Ultranacious Eternus, was gone, and with him, the darkness that had once spread across the realm. But victory came at a cost, one that echoed in the hollow ache in her chest. As she moved to the centre of the throne room, her gaze caught a faint shimmering light in the midst of the ashes. Narrowing her eyes, she stepped closer, her boots crunching against the debris. In the blackened remnants of her father's body, a silvery glow pulsed faintly. Lissandra knelt down, reaching through the dust and ash, her fingers brushing against something solid, cool to the touch. Slowly, she lifted it from the pile. The dagger. Gunner's silver dagger. The blade gleamed in the dim light, its once pristine surface now smeared with soot, but still radiating a subtle, potent energy. The starlight gem embedded in the hilt emitted a soft glow, as if it still held the essence of the battle, the last remnants of Gunner's struggle against the demon king. She stared at it, her emotions swirling, pain, sorrow, and a strange sense of resolve. The blade had been instrumental in ending her father's reign, and now it lay in her hands, a reminder of the warrior who had brought this nightmare to an end. Lissandra stood, holding the dagger close to her chest. She gazed around the empty, destroyed throne room that had once symbolized her father's tyranny. In that moment, she felt the burden of her family's legacy, both its darkness and her chance at redemption. With a deep breath, she turned toward the open expanse of the ruined palace, the dagger gleaming in her hand, knowing that this was not just the end of a chapter, but the beginning of her own. She would carry Gunner's blade with her, not just as a reminder of the warrior who had brought down the demon king, but as a symbol of her own path forward. A path she would forge on her own terms. Deep within a hidden top-secret prison for extraordinary beings, Trinity Schinner lay motionless in her dark, solitary cell. Her breathing was slow and even, her face serene as though she slept soundly. The thick steel walls of her confinement were layered with enchantments, and guards patrolled in silence, ever wary of the dangerous powers held captive within the facility. Suddenly, Trinity's eyes snapped open. She lay still for a moment, her senses tingling as if awakened by something unnatural. A sinister energy rippled through her, unmistakable and dark. Her lips parted in a soft gasp as her mind connected to the distant voice that whispered through the shadows. "A gift for you." The voice of Ultranacious Eternus, the demon king, echoed in her mind, sending a shiver down her spine. But instead of fear, an exhilarating thrill coursed through her veins. Trinity's hand slowly moved to her abdomen, her fingers brushing against her stomach. She could feel it, something stirring, something new. A flutter deep within her womb, faint but undeniable. Her heart quickened, but it was not with fear or confusion. She knew exactly what was happening. A slow, wicked smile spread across her lips. Her fingers pressed against her belly where she could feel the demonic energy growing within her. Life had been planted, and it was far from pure. "Thank you, Master," she whispered, her voice dripping with dark satisfaction. Trinity lay back on the cold bed, her gaze fixed on the ceiling, the evil grin lingering on her face. She knew this was only the beginning. The legacy of Ultranacious would live on. Elsewhere, in the serene lands of Alfheim, the soft glow of the enchanted forest bathed the den of a majestic mother wolf. She panted heavily, her eyes filled with exhaustion and sorrow. Around her lay a litter of healthy pups, each one full of life, save for one. The runt of the litter, small, cold and unmoving, lay still beside its siblings. Its once hopeful birth had ended in silence. The mother wolf let out a mournful whine, nudging the stillborn pup with her nose. She licked its tiny form, as if her love could somehow revive it. But the pup remained motionless, its lifeless body a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of its brothers and sisters. Suddenly, the light around the den began to shift. The air grew cold, and an unnatural presence filled the space. Shadows coiled and twisted, creeping into the den, their dark tendrils swirling around the stillborn pup. A deep, malevolent energy seeped into the body of the pup, enveloping it in a black haze. The mother wolf sensed the intrusion and growled, her fur standing on end. But before she could act, the shadowy figure vanished, absorbed into the lifeless form of the pup. For a moment the den was silent. The mother wolf sniffed at her stillborn pup once more, a low whimper escaping her throat. Then its eyes snapped open. Glowing red, the pup's eyes burned with an unholy fire. The mother wolf froze, her body trembling with instinctive fear as the pup slowly moved, its body animated by the dark energy that had invaded it. The dark shadow had found its new host. The mother wolf backed away, sensing the unnatural presence within her own child. She whimpered and nudged the rest of her litter closer, shielding them from the creature that had once been their sibling. The pup stood on unsteady legs, its red eyes glowing in the dim light of the den. A malevolent power now flowed through its veins, and though its body was small and fragile, it held within it the essence of something far more dangerous. The darkness that had been cast out with Ultranacious Eternus had found a new way to survive. The shadow of the demon king lingered still, waiting for its moment to strike once more. And so, in the quiet lands of Alfheim, the balance had been disturbed once again. Far away, in the heart of Alfheim, Aeliana Vale stood at the edge of a glowing portal, her eyes filled with worry. She could sense it too, the disturbance, the ripple in the magic that bound their world. She had seen the end of Ultranacious, but she also knew that true evil never fully disappeared. Her gaze turned toward the horizon, where the distant shadows gathered once more. The battle was not over. The war had only just begun.